Discover the heartwarming moment a young janitor saved a millionaire from an unexpected scam. In the bustling heart of Maple Grove High, Jason mopped the floors where his dreams were often muddied by the reality he faced. At 22, he found solace in the echoing corridors, his mind wandering to a life outside the confines of his janitorial duties. His family struggled to make ends meet, but they taught him the value of hard work, instilling a fierce resilience in him. Each stroke of the mop was a symbol of his hopes, a silent rebellion against a future written off as one of unending struggle. Then came Ethan, the visiting tech entrepreneur, a whirlwind of charisma and ambition. The students leaned forward, hanging on to his every word as he spun tales of innovation, success, and wealth. Jason, observing from the shadows, felt a heat rising within him, a mix of admiration and longing. Ethan epitomized everything he aspired to be, yet the stark divide between them was a shadow that loomed large. A janitor could never step into the spotlight of success, but beneath the glimmer of Ethan's life lay a storm. An associate, smiling and untrustworthy, was woven into the fabric of his success. While Jason swept away the remnants of yesterday's lunch, he overheard whispers of a scheme that tangled greed with deceit. His heart raced, knowing he had stumbled upon something dangerous that could shatter Ethan's dreams as easily as a broken window. Just a janitor, Ethan had said, waving dismissively as Jason tried to flag him down earlier. The weight of that dismissal hung heavy in Jason's chest. How could he warn a man who barely acknowledged his existence? The school hustled around him, laughter and chatter contrasting with the turmoil inside. Every sweeping motion felt heavier with doubt, yet Jason clung to the ideals taught by his parents: right from wrong, courage in the face of adversity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With determination fueling him, Jason spent days plotting. Each glance at Ethan filled him with a relentless energy, despite the sting of feeling invisible. He witnessed the dynamics shifted among students, cheers and admiration pouring forth for the entrepreneur, while he remained beneath the world's radar, a mere cog said to be too lowly to be involved in something monumental. Then came the moment that would change everything. Jason spotted Ethan in the cafeteria, surrounded by a crowd, but within the chaos, the cunning associate loomed nearby, scheming. Adrenaline surged through Jason. This was it, his moment. As he approached, every hesitant step felt monumental, an unsteadiness born from a mix of hope and fear. When Ethan looked up, a flicker of recognition crossed his features. "Hey," Jason said, voice trembling. "You're in danger." He could see the wheels turning in Ethan's mind. Would their worlds collide, or would the barriers he faced choke out the truth he so desperately wanted to share? The cafeteria buzzed with energy, the air thick with anticipation. This was the precipice of change. Could Jason's courage to speak out break through the walls built by class and perception? As they stared at one another, both wrestling with their own biases and assumptions, the room buzzed with life, but within it, a pivotal moment loomed. Would Jason be able to save Ethan before it was too late, or would the divide between their worlds swallow them both? The moment hung like a suspended breath, tension coiling between Jason and Ethan, caught in a web of unspoken words. Jason's palms felt clammy, his heart drumming a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He took a bold step closer, feeling the weight of his own insignificance crumble slightly beneath the urgency of the task at hand. "Listen to me," Jason urged, the noise of the cafeteria fading into a muted backdrop. "That guy next to you, he's not who you think he is. He's got plans that could ruin everything you've worked for." Ethan's eyes narrowed, skepticism lining his features. Onlookers began to turn their heads, drawn into the brewing confrontation. The bright lights above cast a harsh glow, highlighting the contrast between their worlds. Jason's worn uniform felt like a barrier, while Ethan's crisp shirt screamed success. It made Jason wonder if the truth could ever cross that divide. "What are you talking about?" "I don't think we've met," Ethan responded, his tone cool yet curious. "Please," Jason pressed, ignoring the sting of that dismissal. "I'm just a janitor, but I see things. I heard them talking, planning something that could take you down. You can't trust him." The associate, now aware of the discussion, inched closer, a smile plastered across his face. Jason's instincts screamed danger. Every fiber of his being urged him to protect Ethan, a man he scarcely knew but admired deeply. There was no turning back now. Exposure was the only path forward. Ethan's expression shifted, the flicker of doubt danced across his face as he assessed the tall, anxious figure before him. The room buzzed louder, whispers filling the air with incredulity. Was a janitor really trying to save a millionaire? Jason's heart sank, he could feel the judgment burning through the eyes of those around him. "Look, I don't know who you think you are," Ethan began, but Jason could see the cracks in Ethan's facade. This was a man who thrived on being understood, who flourished in the light of admiration. "I'm just someone who wants to help," Jason interrupted, desperation making his tone a little sharper. "You might see me as just a janitor, but I've paid attention. I know what it's like to fight for something. I can't just watch you get scammed." Ethan glanced at the associate, who feigned innocence yet shifted anxiously. The moment hung between them, precarious and fragile. "I'm listening," Ethan finally said, his voice low, the bravado slipping away, revealing a hint of vulnerability. Jason's breath hitched. This was his chance, the door he had fought to pry open was now ajar. "Meet me after school. I'll show you everything," he offered, an ember of hope sparking in his chest. Relief washed over Jason as Ethan nodded, the shadow of uncertainty giving way to a flicker of determination. Before things could spiral into doubt, Jason turned on his heel, ready to escape the growing crowd, his thoughts racing. Had he really just made a connection? In that instant, he felt a shift. Perhaps beyond their differences, there was the possibility of understanding, a bridge forming between dreamers from different worlds. As he made his way back to the custodial closet, adrenaline still coursing through his veins, doubts crept in. Would Ethan really trust him? Or would he dismiss their meeting as a strange encounter with a mere janitor, too naive to realize he didn't belong? The bustling high school filled with laughter and chatter around him, but Jason felt isolated once more, anchored by a potent mix of excitement and fear. He had taken a step into the unknown, but would it lead to an alliance that could unearth the truth, or would it push them further apart? Now, as the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, Jason's heart raced at the thought of their meeting. Could he protect Ethan and reshape their fates, or had he just jumped into a deeper storm? Jason leaned against the cool metal of the custodial cart, trying to calm the wild flutter of his heart. With only a few hours until the final bell, the weight of anticipation grew heavier. What had started as an impulsive act of warning now felt like a life-altering choice. He glanced at the clock. Time moved slowly, the countdown to their meeting amplifying his anxiety. Students wandered in and out of the hallways, carefree and unaware of the stakes Jason had just stepped into. A part of him wondered if he was foolish, gripping at straws against a world far beyond his reach. But another part pushed him forward, the desire to do something right surging within him. He reminded himself of the undercurrents of betrayal he had sensed. It was all too real, and he couldn't shake off that feeling, like a storm brewing just out of sight. Finally, the final bell rang. Students intertwined in laughter, excitement electrifying the air as they rushed to their lockers. Despite the chaos, Jason felt an island of calm wash over him. He took a deep breath, his resolve solid. He had to keep Ethan safe. With each step towards their meeting place by the old oak tree outside, Jason's stomach twisted with uncertainty. What would he say? Would Ethan even take him seriously? Just then, he spotted Ethan walking towards him, his confident stride somewhat diminished as he caught Jason's eye. "Hey," Ethan said, a hint of nervousness creeping into his voice. His earlier bravado felt like a mask that had slipped. Jason felt a surge of camaraderie, a spark of understanding. "Thanks for coming," Jason said, his own voice steadying. "I know this is strange, but I wouldn't be here if I didn't care about what might happen to you." Ethan nodded, his expression serious. "I've been thinking about what you said. I still don't fully understand, but I want to hear it. I need to know if there's truth to it." Jason swallowed hard. This was it. "It's about the guy you've been spending time with. I overheard him talking about a deal that would pull the rug out from under you. He can make everything look good on the surface, but he's got a hidden agenda." Ethan shifted uncomfortably, processing the information. "How do you know this? Why would you care? I know how hard you've worked. I've seen the late nights. It's not just a job for you, it's your life." The sincerity in Jason's voice cut through the noise around them. "I can't watch you lose it to someone who doesn't value it." Ethan paused, the weight of Jason's words settling into his thoughts. "You really believe this guy is trying to con me?" "I do," Jason asserted, the urgency of his mission echoing in his heart. "You deserve better than someone pretending to be your friend while plotting behind your back." As silence enveloped them, Jason could see the wheels turning in Ethan's mind. Doubt was written across his face, but so was a flicker of determination. After a long moment, Ethan broke the quiet. "What do we do now?" Jason let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Together, they could fight this. "I have a plan. We gather evidence, keep an eye on him, see what he's really up to." Ethan's glance reinforced Jason's hope. Maybe the bridge they were attempting to build might actually hold, but just then, a familiar figure loomed in the distance. Ethan's associate was heading straight for them, an unsettling look in his eyes. Jason's heart raced. They were on borrowed time. "Stay calm," Jason whispered, feeling the pulse of tension rise again. "Just act natural." Ethan's forehead creased with concern, but he nodded. The moment of truth had arrived, and everything was about to unravel. Would they be able to outsmart the looming threat, or was this the beginning of something much worse? Ethan's associate approached, his loose shirt fluttering in the breeze, a grin plastered on his face that felt all too rehearsed. "Hey! What are you two doing out here?" Jason clenched his fists, as if they could somehow ward off the impending confrontation. He could feel his heartbeat thrumming in his ears, drowning out the sounds of laughter and footsteps around them. "Just talking," he replied, trying to keep his tone light, masking the tension simmering beneath. "Talking, huh?" The associate leaned in, his smile widening. "You guys look like you're up to something. Planning a school protest or something?" Ethan remained steady, his face unreadable, but Jason could tell he was teetering on the edge of confidence and doubt. "No protests here, just some studying before exams," Ethan said, forcing a chuckle. The boy leaned back, crossing his arms, a glint of suspicion sparking in his eyes. "What kind of studying needs to happen under this tree? You should be in the library, or does it not matter to you anymore? I mean, I thought you cared." Jason's heart sank. He felt like they were caught in a trap, and the walls were closing in. "We just like this spot," he shot back, a tinge of defensiveness creeping into his voice. It wasn't the most articulate response, but desperation had a way of muddling thoughts. "Right." The associate's gaze darted back to Ethan. "You've done good work with this new deal. You really want to throw it all away?" Ethan opened his mouth, but Jason cut him off. "Ethan's not throwing anything away. He's smart. He can make his own decisions." A silent battle of wills unfolded between Jason and the associate. Jason could see the gears turning in the guy's mind, weighing their words against the value of whatever scheme was being spun behind the shadows. "Smart?" "Sure," the associate replied, his voice laced with skepticism. "But is he smart enough to trust the right people or just those that make him feel good? I mean, it's easy to lie, isn't it? Ethan shifted, glancing between them. Jason took a step forward, determined. Trust is earned, not just given. You don't know what he is truly capable of. The tension crackled in the air, and the door felt creaked open just a sliver wider. But then the associate's expression hardened. Watch your back, Jason. People don't take kindly to interference. With that, he turned to leave, casting a lingering look over his shoulder, a parting shot hanging in the air. Jason felt a sudden chill creep down his spine as the associate walked away, the threat lingering like smoke after a fire. Jason, Ethan said, his voice low, the uncertainty palpable. What do we do? He knows we're onto him. We stay vigilant, Jason replied, his resolve hardening. We gather information first. Let us meet tonight after school, maybe at the coffee shop. We can go over everything. Ethan nodded, determination replacing uncertainty in his gaze. Right. We'll figure this out together. The moment felt pivotal, two unlikely allies standing on the brink of something bigger than themselves. As they parted ways, Jason glanced back toward the school, the walls now feeling like an ominous watchtower. Every step he took away from the old oak tree heightened the sense of urgency. Darkness wasn't just falling outside, it was creeping in fast, and he needed to act before it cloaked them completely. Tomorrow's meeting would be critical. But as he turned to leave, a shadow crossed his path, someone else emerging from the school, a figure he never expected to see, and their presence sent a shiver down his spine. Who would join this brewing conflict? The stakes were about to rise even higher, and Jason could only hope they were ready for whatever was coming next. Jason's heart raced as the dim light of the late afternoon sun cast elongated shadows across the school grounds. The figure stepping into view was Leah, the quiet girl from his history class, known more for her love of books than for making waves. Her presence in this tense moment felt like the calm before a storm. Jason? She hesitated, her brow furrowing as she approached. What is going on? You look tense. Just had an interesting conversation, he replied, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. What are you doing here? I was just finishing up a project, she said, glancing towards the school, anywhere but his eyes. I saw you and Ethan, and well, I figured I should check in. There was concern in her voice, almost a sense of urgency. Do you know Ethan well? His words tumbled out, the instinct to share his worries overwhelming. Here was someone who understood the weight of secrets, someone who might help. We've partnered up for some group assignments, Leah answered, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her notebook. Why do you ask? Jason sighed. Ethan's in trouble. His associate Ray, she interjected, the name tinged with a hint of disdain. Yeah, Ray, Jason confirmed. He's threatening Ethan, and things are getting messy. I'm worried about what might happen next. Leah's eyes widened, a mix of fear and admiration sparking between them. You really care about him, don't you? It's not just about Ethan, Jason said, frustration creeping into his voice. It's bigger than that. If we don't act, we could all be in trouble. Leah nodded, understanding sinking in. So, what's the plan? The coffee shop tonight, Jason replied quickly, the urgency flowing through him. Ethan and I are meeting to talk things out. Want to join? For a moment, she hesitated, an internal struggle playing out on her face. I don't know, Jason. What if Ray finds out? He won't stop at just threats. Jason stepped closer, lowering his voice. But if we stick together, maybe it'll give us a better chance. You'd be helping us. A flicker of determination crossed her face, and she straightened up, her gaze steady now. Okay. I'm in. But we need to be smart about this. Ray's not the type to back down. They shared a moment of silent understanding, each knowing they were entering uncharted waters, a dangerous game where loyalty could lead to peril. Let us meet at 6, Jason said, the time setting a plan in motion. You have to be careful, Leah. Ray doesn't play fair. I can handle myself, she replied, her tone firm. Then, as if a thought struck her, she asked, what if we bring someone else? Someone who can know, Jason interrupted, immediately regretting the harshness. I don't want to risk involving more people. We need to keep this small. Leah took a deep breath, and Jason could see the wheels turning in her mind. All right, just us then. But just us, he confirmed. As they prepared to part, Leah glanced back at him, her expression softening. Thanks for trusting me, she said quietly. Before he could respond, a sharp noise pierced the air, a shout from across the yard, an argument breaking out among a group of students. The chaotic sounds drowned out their conversation, pulling Jason's focus away. What now? Leah murmured, her gaze darting. Jason squinted through the fading light. There was something familiar about the voice rising above the rest. Could it be Ethan? His heart dropped at the thought. He urged Leah to follow as they moved towards the fray, uncertainty gnawing at them both. As they neared, the shouting grew clearer, and Jason's stomach churned when he recognized Ray's voice cutting through the crowd like a blade. What are you two doing here? Just then, a figure climbed onto a bench to get a better view, and Jason's breath caught in his throat. It was Ethan, looking defiantly at Ray, ready to stand his ground. Things were about to spiral out of control, and Jason knew they had to act fast. Would they intervene or watch from the sidelines? Decisions needed to be made, and quickly, as the stakes were rising by the second. What happens when they step in? The urge to protect. And the danger of involvement loomed overhead like a storm cloud ready to burst. Jason's instincts kicked in hard. The sight of Ethan, his shoulders squared and jaw set, struck him like a bolt of lightning. He couldn't just stand back and watch as Ray stewed in anger, ready to unleash whatever venom he had. Leah, we need to do something, Jason urged, urgency coating each word. I know, but Leah's voice trailed off, her anxious eyes darting between Jason and the growing crowd. If we charge in, it might make things worse. Before Jason could respond, Ray took a step toward Ethan, his fists clenching at his sides. You think you can just show up here and challenge me? He spat, a sneer twisting his mouth. Ethan didn't cower. I'm not scared of you, Ray. If you have a problem, let us settle it like adults. Leah's grip tightened around her notebook. This isn't going to end well, she whispered in horror. What if he fights him? Then we'll stop it. Together, Jason replied, determination fueling him as he stepped forward. Wait. Leah tugged at his arm. We can't just rush in. We need to distract him first. Jason paused, his mind racing. He felt the weight of the moment pressing on his chest, the tension thick enough to slice. How? Leah's gaze shifted, and suddenly she had an idea. If I shout something out, it might turn his attention away for just a second. Can you grab Ethan then? Okay, but be careful, Jason replied, feeling the knot in his stomach tighten further with every passing moment. Leah inhaled deeply, her eyes focused on Ray. Hey! Ray! She called out, her voice ringing through the crowd. Jason's breath hitched as everyone turned toward her, disbelief coloring their expressions. Who the hell do you think you are? Ray yelled, clearly annoyed by the unexpected interruption. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is how pathetic you look trying to intimidate someone who clearly doesn't want anything to do with you. Leah stepped into the fray, her quiet bravery shining through. The crowd muttered, intrigued by Leah's daring move. Ray glared at her, his rage shifting momentarily from Ethan to this unexpected challenger. Jason seized the opportunity. Ethan! Come on! He called, pulling him away from the crowd as confusion gave them a moment's reprieve. What are you doing? Ethan asked, clearly startled. We need to get out of here before he realizes what's happening, Jason said, urgency spilling into his tone. But as they turned to make their escape, Ray lunged at them, his voice rising with fury. You think you can just walk away from this? Run! Jason shouted, and they sprinted toward the edge of the crowd. Leah followed close behind, glancing back as the situation escalated. What were you thinking, Jason? We can't just make him angrier. This was the only way, he replied, pushing through the chaos, adrenaline surging through him. We can regroup and come up with a better plan. They slipped behind a cluster of trees at the side of the school where they could catch their breath. Jason leaned against the rough bark, his heart hammering. Are you guys okay? He asked, checking on Ethan and Leah. Ethan nodded, but uncertainty danced in his eyes. That was risky, Jason. You don't know what Ray is capable of. Leah looked at the two of them, her resolve shining brighter than before. Maybe we need to think about getting some real help. We can't face Ray alone. He's not going to back down. He's dangerous. Feeling the weight of that truth settle in, Jason's mind swirled with possibilities. What if they reached out for support? Who could they trust? They needed allies, someone who could stand in Ray's way. A shadow flickered behind them, causing Jason to turn. Was it Ray? The dread boiled up, pushing him to consider their next move, but the fleeting moment of hope teased him. Let us go back to the coffee shop safely, Jason urged, trying to regain control of the situation. We can think there. But we need to move fast. Who knows what Ray is planning? As they prepared to leave the cover of the trees, Jason felt a prickling sensation at the back of his mind. Would they be safe? Could they outsmart Ray? And what if this was just the beginning of something far worse than they imagined? The answer lay ahead, and the only way forward was through the very storm they feared. Who else might they come across in this tangled mess? The coffee shop was just a few blocks away, but each step felt like crossing a battlefield. Jason led the way, with Leah and Ethan close behind, their footsteps echoing the tension in their hearts. The pleasant aroma of fresh coffee enveloped them as they got closer, but the warmth of the place did little to ease the chill of fear that had settled over Jason. As they slipped inside, the bell above the door jingled, and the cozy atmosphere was a stark contrast to the chaos outside. He scanned the room, searching for a friendly face, someone who might help them dig a way out of this mess. The usual crowd was around, sipping on lattes and sharing casual banter, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just outside. Over there, Leah pointed towards a booth in the back where her friend Mia sat, a creative soul with a knack for organizing events. She might have some ideas. Jason felt a flicker of hope. If anyone could help rally support, it was Mia. The three of them slid into the booth, still trying to catch their breath. Jason exchanged quick glances with Leah and Ethan as they settled in, each of them waiting for the other to speak. Hey, what's with the looks? Mia asked, her brow furrowed in concern. You guys look like you've seen a ghost. Everything okay? Jason didn't want to spook her, but the truth felt too heavy to hide. It's Ray. He's after Ethan, and we need a plan. Fast. Mia's eyes widened, the reality sinking in. Ray? The guy who's always trying to start something? He's dangerous, Jason. You can't just go charging in. That's what we're trying to avoid, Leah chimed in. But we need to figure out how to handle this. We can't let Ray bully us. Mia pursed her lips, tapping her fingers on the table. Alright, let's brainstorm. Do you have any idea what Ray's planning next? Ethan shifted uncomfortably, his hands fidgeting with the hem of his sweatshirt. I don't know. I've avoided confrontation with him for a while. Maybe he's just looking for a way to prove himself. People like him are always trying to maintain power. A moment of silence fell over the table, the weight of Ethan's words hanging there. Jason felt the unease settle in. It wasn't just about Ray. It was about their safety, their friendships, and a reality that could quickly spiral out of control. What if we created some distractions? Leah suggested, her brain whirring with ideas. Something Ray wouldn't expect. If we got the school involved, or even organized a community event, but Ray isn't just going to sit back and let us do that. He'll do whatever it takes to undermine it, Jason muttered, frustration bubbling up within him. Then we need something more, Mia said, her eyes sparking with determination. I could help gather support from other students. They needs to see him for who he really is. Ethan finally looked up, something flickering in his gaze. What if we went to the teachers? If they knew, they could step in. Jason felt the walls close in, but he knew Leah was right. They needed more voices. With enough people behind them, maybe they could give Ray a taste of his own medicine. But would the teachers really back them up? Or would they shy away from confrontation, a fate he feared more than anything? Let us do it, Jason said, feeling a surge of hope mixed with apprehension, but just as they began to solidify their plan, the bell over the door jingled again, louder than before. Turning, Jason caught sight of a familiar figure slipping into the shop. It was Ray, and he was searching the room with a predatory glint in his eyes. What would happen now? Jason's heart raced as fear twisted in his stomach. Would Ray confront them here, or was this just the beginning of something even more unpredictable? The air felt thick, the stakes higher than ever, and they were caught in a web they may never untangle. Jason's breath hitched as Ray's gaze locked onto their booth. For a split second, it felt like the world froze, and every calculated step Ray took brought with it an ominous weight. He felt trapped, the walls of the coffee shop closing in like a vice. Guys, stay calm, Jason whispered, his voice barely above a murmur. He wasn't sure if he was trying to reassure them or himself. Mai and Leah exchanged glances, the tension palpable as they each processed the looming threat. Ray sauntered closer, swaggering like the alpha he assumed himself to be. Well, if it isn't the brave little trio, he sneered, his eyes narrowing on Ethan. The venom in his voice sent a shiver down Jason's spine. Just having a chat, Ray, Jason said, summoning every ounce of bravado he could muster. Ray chuckled, a low rumble that made Jason's skin crawl. Oh, I can see that. Planning some next big move, are we? How cute. For a moment, Ray's words hung in the air, teasing a potential confrontation, yet still remaining tantalizingly out of reach. Jason felt his heartbeat quicken, a rush of adrenaline flooding his system. He had to protect Ethan. They could not afford to back down now, not in front of the whole coffee shop. Leave him alone, Ray, Leah spoke up, her voice firm. Jason felt a swell of pride in her courage, but he also sensed the danger in provoking Ray. Ray's expression darkened, and he leaned over the table, invading their space. You really think you can stand up to me? Cute girl like you, don't you know playing with fire can get you burned? Ethan finally found his voice, shaky yet defiant. If you think I'm afraid of you, you're wrong. I'm not backing down, not anymore. A twisted smile curled Ray's lips, an expression that struck fear deep into Jason. The scent of coffee and baked goods around them faded into a backdrop, replaced by the tension stretching taut around the booth. Ray was like a storm about to break. Well, let us see how long that bravado lasts. I'll make sure you regret this, Ray spat, turning away. The threat lingered in the air like smoke, suffocating and sinister. Jason watched Ray walk away, the weight of his words hanging heavily as he processed the moment. Anxiety churned in his stomach like a whirlwind. It felt like they had tipped the balance, and now they were firmly in Ray's sights, a target painted with a bullseye. What do we do now? Leah asked, her concern palpable. The fire of determination flickered in her eyes but gave way to doubt. I think we still focus on getting help, Jason replied, although he felt his resolve wavering. But we have to be smarter, we can't let him know our next move. If he thinks we're hiding, he'll just escalate things. Mia nodded in agreement, her eyes darting to the door as if expecting Ray to turn back at any moment. We need to gather as many supporters as we can. If Ray knows we're rallying against him, it might force his hand. Jason took a deep breath, feeling the flicker of hope reignite. You're right. Let us use this to our advantage. But we have to be careful. He's watching us now. Just as they began to strategize, the bell jingled again, and a new group of students entered, laughter and conversation spilling into the shop. But Jason's mind was elsewhere, replaying Ray's threat like a film stuck on repeat. As the voices of their peers filled the space, the world outside felt like a distant nightmare. But in that moment, uncertainty clung to them like fog, darkening the cafe's warmth. At that moment, Jason knew they were on the brink of an even bigger battle. The only question was, would they be victorious, or was this just the calm before the storm? And as they made their plans, one thought loomed in Jason's mind: how far would Ray go to keep his power? The answer hung in the air, heavy and unyielding, as they prepared to face whatever Ray had in store for them next. The chatter in the coffee shop faded into a low hum as Jason's mind raced with possibilities. How could they turn Ray's threat against him? The hours spent discussing school projects now seemed trivial compared to the swirling chaos that lay ahead. Okay, so who do we trust? Leah broke the silence, her voice a mix of urgency and fear. We can't just make a list and hope they'll back us. We need people who care. Mai leaned back, contemplation on his face. What about those kids from the student council? They're pretty influential. If we get them on our side, it might give us some credibility. Jason nodded, but a knot tightened in his stomach. Yeah, but they might not want to cross Ray. He's got a reputation. Reputation or not, we have to try. Leah said, determination brightening her eyes. She looked at Ethan, whose expression was clouded but resolute. You're not going to let him intimidate you, are you? Ethan met her gaze, and Jason saw a flicker of the boy he had always known, a fighter, just as brave as any of them. No. I can't let him scare me. Not anymore. Then let us make it happen, Jason urged, feeling a thrill of defiance surge through him. They huddled closer together, brainstorming potential allies who might lend their voices to their cause. As they plotted their next moves, the laughter of the incoming students felt distant, like an echo from another universe where worries didn't exist. It made the gravity of their situation all the more real. Each cup of coffee, each whisper of friends felt trivial when weighed against the prospect of Ray's looming shadow. Minutes turned into what felt like hours as they sketched out a plan. They decided to approach the student council that afternoon, hoping to gain as much support as they could before Ray retaliated. Relief washed over Jason. At least they were finally doing something, rather than just waiting at the mercy of their fears. Just as they were about to leave the booth, the door flung open with a loud bang. Jason's heart sank as Ray strode back in, flanked by a couple of his friends. This time, they weren't laughing. They were on a mission. Look who we have here, Team Brave, Ray scoffed, his voice dripping with mockery. The tension in the cafe thickened once more, a weight on Jason's shoulders. Shouldn't you be out practicing your little schemes somewhere else? Ray shot at Ethan, his smirk making Jason's fists clench. Ethan held his ground. I'm done backing down, Ray. You don't scare me anymore. Jason was ready to step in, but then he heard it murmurs from nearby tables. A few faces turned toward the scene unfolding, eyes wide with concern. This was unexpected. Maybe they weren't alone. Ray sensed the shift. His bravado faltered just a little as the other students began to whisper amongst themselves, some nodding in agreement with Ethan's boldness. An idea sparked in Jason's mind. Maybe this was the opening they needed. Ethan's right, Jason said, his voice steady and strong. It's time we all stood up. No one deserves to be bullied. The murmur in the cafe shifted into something more. A few students clapped softly, a few others threw in their own words of encouragement. A flicker of hope ignited in Jason's heart. Ray glanced at his friends, then back at Jason and the others. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty marred his face like a hint of storm clouds on a sunny day. You think this makes a difference? Just wait and see. And with that, Ray turned, but as he did, Jason could see defeat creeping into the edges of his confidence. We can't let this moment slip away, Leah said quietly, urgency in her voice. We have to build on this. Jason felt exhilarated, riding the tide of optimism. Let us rally everyone. This is our chance. The others agreed, the adrenaline rushing through them. They stepped out of the cafe, leaving the tensions behind for a moment, hearts pounding with renewed purpose. All around them lay the whispers of change, and Jason felt like a storm was brewing, one that might finally challenge Ray's reckless reign. But even as they took pride in their small victory, Jason couldn't shake the feeling that Ray was far from done. What would their next move be? Would the fire of their courage hold? He felt the tension building again, an unease lurking just beneath the surface. As they pressed forward, Jason couldn't help but wonder what greater tests awaited them in this fight. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows as Jason, Leah, and Ethan stepped out of the coffee shop. They felt emboldened by the murmurs that swirled around them, fueling their hopes, but the persistent specter of Ray haunted every thought. Jason's heart raced not just from the adrenaline, but with the gravity of what lay ahead. Let us go to the student council, Leah urged, her determination radiating like the dawn that threatened to break through the night. They need to know what's happening. As they hurried down the street toward the school, each footfall echoed the urgency in their hearts. With every step, Jason felt that spark of camaraderie fueling them, igniting something fierce within. When they finally reached the student council room, the air buzzed with activity. Students were gathered around tables, debating upcoming events, but when Jason spoke up, an unusual stillness fell over the room. Hey, everyone, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. We need to talk. It's about Ray. The whisper of intrigue rippled through the crowd. Leah stepped beside him, her conviction shining through. Ray's been threatening Ethan, and it's not okay. We deserve a safe school. Faced with their united front, the council members leaned in, curiosity piquing. What do you mean? One of them asked, a tall girl with glasses perched on her nose. He's been bullying us and manipulating things behind the scenes, Ethan added, his voice echoing with conviction. The weight of their plight hung in the air, more substantial now that they had gathered support. What do you want us to do? Came a voice from the back. Jason took a deep breath, his own courage surging. We need to stand together and confront this. Not just for Ethan, but for everyone who has been affected. If we let Ray continue, he will try to intimidate others. But united, we can show him there's strength in numbers. Murmurs filled the room, a mix of uncertainty and intrigue. Leah quickly chimed in, if we organize a school event or rally against bullying, everyone can see they're not alone. This needs to end now. Slowly, heads began to nod. The idea began to take root, and Jason felt hope blossom. Then, unexpectedly, a voice spoke up. It was Mia from the coffee shop, stepping forward with fierce determination. I'm in. We'll make banners, get the word out. This isn't just your fight, it's ours too. More students rallied around her, encouraged by the prospect of change. Jason's heart swelled as the enthusiasm grew, voices blended into a chorus of resolution. They finalized plans for a rally and resolved to spread the word across the school. But their moment of joy was cut short as the door swung open with a bang. Ray stood there, lined with fury, followed by his posse. The laughter and chatter in the room fell silent, flipping the atmosphere like a coin. Oh, look, he sneered, eyes darting to Jason and the others, the brave little warriors think they can actually unite everyone against me. But this time, Jason felt the swell of determination strong enough to drown out Ray's venom. You've done enough, Ray. He shouted, meeting the bully's gaze fiercely. People are tired of living in fear, and it's time for everyone to know the truth about you. Ray stepped closer, his bravado slipping as he realized he was outnumbered. You have no idea what you're getting into. I'll make you regret this. Just as Ray turned to leave, Leah stepped forward, her voice ringing loud and clear. And we won't stop until you do. This isn't just about us, it's about everyone you've tormented. Your reign of terror ends now. The energy shifted, and Jason felt emboldened by the support around them. This was a battle they could fight together. With Ray backing down, Jason seized that chance. Let us show everyone that there's power in standing together. As Ray stormed out, the other students began cheering, the room filling with a palpable sense of unity. This was the breakthrough they had wanted and needed. Later that evening, after the adrenaline wore off, Jason, Leah, and Ethan sat together, laughter and camaraderie overtake the previous weight that had hung on their shoulders. I can't believe it actually worked, Ethan said, his eyes brightening. Just wait until the rally, Leah chimed in, smiling broadly. This is just the beginning. Jason watched them. The fear and uncertainty that had consumed them just days before had morphed into sheer determination. They were no longer shadows but bright, bold voices of change. As night enveloped Maple Grove, they understood the struggle was far from over. But now, armed with each other and their courage, they felt invincible. Let us make a difference, Jason said, his heart swelling with hope. Together. And they did. Now that you've reached the end of this journey, don't wait any longer. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Your clicks matter. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear your voices. And finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Your friends deserve to share in this excitement too.